and I realized how competitive he was, and he caught me with a good shot. But I thank God for you.
Evander Holyfield was boxing's most protected champion. A sanctimonious fighter whose carefully crafted religious image concealed systematic cheating and illegal tactics that frustrated opponents for decades.
2 rounds, and that's the third of the night. I thought he pulled out the knife by getting aggressive, just like he's doing now. Here comes
The Real Deal built his reputation on manufactured holiness while engaging in dirty fighting that referees consistently overlooked due to his promotional value and media connections. Behind the prayer sessions and biblical quotes was a calculating competitor who used every advantage available, including questionable physical transformations and systematic rule violations that his opponents endured without recourse. Holyfield mastered the art of appearing victimized while inflicting damage through methods that violated boxing's fundamental principles of fair competition. His enemies discovered that complaining about Holyfield's tactics only made them appear unsportsmanlike, while the media portrayed any criticism as attacks on a devout Christian rather than legitimate concerns about competitive integrity. The systematic protection extended from promotional offices to referee assignments that seemed designed to favor Holyfield, regardless of his actual conduct. Many fighters suspected pharmaceutical enhancement during Holyfield's suspicious transformation from small cruiserweight to muscular heavyweight, but speaking publicly meant career suicide in boxing's politically correct environment. The truth about Holyfield's methods remained hidden behind religious rhetoric and media manipulation. We're exposing 6 fighters who witnessed Evander Holyfield's real character and learned that crossing boxing's most hypocritical champion meant facing both systematic cheating and career-damaging retaliation from his powerful supporters. 6. Bert Cooper. Starting at number 6 is Bert Cooper, the journeyman heavyweight whose shocking knockdown of Holyfield exposed the manufactured champion's vulnerability while revealing the systematic manipulation that saved his career from premature destruction. Cooper possessed enough punching power to threaten any heavyweight when he connected cleanly, but his inconsistent preparation and limited boxing skills made him appear like safe opposition for rising contenders seeking impressive victories against recognizable names. The dramatic knockdown that Cooper scored against Holyfield should have ended the future champion's heavyweight aspirations by demonstrating his inability to handle legitimate power from even limited opposition. The crushing blow revealed fundamental flaws in Holyfield's defensive system while proving that his transformation from cruiserweight had not improved his chin or ability to absorb heavyweight punishment from authentic punchers. Cooper watched helplessly as questionable officiating and suspicious timing allowed Holyfield to recover from damage that would have finished less protected fighters facing similar circumstances. The referee's slow count and extended recovery time provided advantages that Cooper had never received during his own career when facing similar situations against established opponents. The systematic manipulation became obvious when Cooper's moment of triumph was stolen through officiating decisions that seemed designed to protect Holyfield's promotional value rather than ensure fair competition. Cooper realized that beating Holyfield required not only superior performance, but also overcoming systematic bias that favored protected fighters over authentic competition. At number 5 is John Ruiz, the Puerto Rican heavyweight whose trilogy with Holyfield provided first-hand experience of the systematic dirty tactics and illegal maneuvers that referees consistently ignored throughout their encounters. Ruiz endured countless headbutts, low blows, and holding violations that would have resulted in point deductions or disqualifications against any other fighter lacking Holyfield's protected status and media connections within boxing's corrupt establishment. The calculated fouls became obvious patterns as Holyfield repeatedly used his head as a weapon while positioning himself to make contact appear accidental to officials who seemed determined to overlook obvious rule violations. Ruiz watched helplessly as referees accepted Holyfield's innocent expressions and apologetic gestures despite clear evidence of intentional misconduct designed to inflict damage through illegal methods. The systematic cheating extended beyond individual fouls into comprehensive strategies that transformed Holyfield's limitations into competitive advantages through rule violations that officials consistently refused to address properly. Ruiz realized that complaining about these tactics only made him appear weak and unsportsmanlike, while Holyfield continued benefiting from systematic protection that extended throughout boxing's regulatory structure. The trilogy revealed Holyfield's declining abilities masked by increasing reliance on illegal tactics that compensated for diminished speed, power, and reflexes through calculated rule violations. Ruiz experienced the frustration of facing an opponent whose reputation provided immunity from consequences that would have destroyed less protected fighters engaging in similar misconduct. Number 4 brings us Lennox Lewis, the British heavyweight whose public frustration with Holyfield's systematic avoidance tactics and business manipulation exposed the calculated cowardice behind the real deal's manufactured warrior image. Lewis possessed superior size, technical ability, and championship credentials that made their eventual encounter inevitable. But Holyfield's team employed every possible delay tactic to postpone facing someone who represented a genuine threat to his protected status. The avoidance strategies included contractual games, purse disputes, and promotional complications that seemed designed to prevent Lewis from exposing Holyfield's limitations against elite opposition who possessed physical advantages and technical superiority. Lewis watched Holyfield face carefully selected opponents while using business excuses to avoid legitimate challengers who threatened his manufactured reputation as boxing's premier heavyweight. Lewis's public statements about Holyfield's cowardice revealed uncomfortable truths about boxing's promotional structure that protected certain fighters through systematic manipulation of championship obligations and mandatory defenses. The British champion understood that Holyfield's team feared legitimate competition that could expose the artificial nature of his heavyweight success against inferior opposition. Their eventual encounters validated Lewis's superiority while proving that Holyfield's reputation had been built through favorable matchmaking rather than legitimate victories over quality heavyweights. The fights demonstrated that when forced to face authentic elite competition, Holyfield's limitations became obvious to anyone willing to evaluate performance objectively rather than accepting promotional narratives about his greatness. 3. Riddick Bowe. At number 3 is Riddick Bowe, the childhood friend whose intimate knowledge of Holyfield's real personality revealed the manufactured nature of his religious transformation and public image that concealed calculating ambition and competitive ruthlessness. Bowe witnessed Holyfield's evolution from amateur teammate to professional rival while observing character changes that contradicted the sanctimonious behavior he displayed for media consumption and promotional purposes. The personal betrayal began when success transformed Holyfield from loyal friend into manipulative competitor who abandoned previous relationships in favor of advisors who prioritized image management over authentic human connections. Bowe watched his former friend embrace religious rhetoric as a promotional strategy while engaging in behavior that contradicted his public statements about Christian values and spiritual guidance. Bowe possessed insider information about Holyfield's training methods and physical development that raised serious questions about pharmaceutical assistance during his suspicious transformation from light cruiserweight to muscular heavyweight. The dramatic changes in Holyfield's physique occurred alongside his religious awakening, creating convenient cover for obvious enhancement usage that media outlets refused to investigate properly. The amateur rivalry that became professional hatred revealed fundamental differences in their approaches to competition and personal integrity that Bowe could not reconcile with his former friend's manufactured public persona. Bowe understood that Holyfield's religious conversion served multiple purposes, including deflecting criticism about questionable training methods and systematic rule violations. Their professional encounters became personal vendettas as Bowe sought to expose the hypocrisy and calculated deception that had transformed his former teammate into boxing's most protected fraud through systematic image manipulation and promotional favoritism that concealed obvious cheating. 2. Larry Holmes. Number 2 is Larry Holmes, the former heavyweight champion who became boxing's most vocal truth-teller about Holyfield's obvious pharmaceutical enhancement and the systematic cover-up that protected his manufactured transformation from scrutiny. Holmes possessed the credibility and fearlessness necessary to expose uncomfortable realities about performance enhancement that other fighters dared not discuss publicly due to career consequences and media retaliation. The accusations began when Holmes observed Holyfield's dramatic physical changes that defied natural athletic development while coinciding perfectly with his move to heavyweight competition. The suspicious timing of Holyfield's muscular transformation raised obvious questions about enhancement usage that boxing media refused to investigate despite clear evidence of artificial development. The systematic silence surrounding Holyfield's transformation revealed boxing's complicity in performance enhancement cover-ups that protected valuable assets while sacrificing competitive integrity for commercial considerations. Holmes realized that the sport's regulatory structure was designed to protect certain fighters rather than ensuring fair competition among all participants. Holmes never stopped exposing the truth about Holyfield's pharmaceutical assistance because he understood that boxing's credibility depended on honest evaluation of obvious cheating rather than maintaining comfortable lies that benefited corrupt promotional interests and protected fraudulent champions. 1. Mike Tyson. And finally, at number 1, the most explosive revelation of all, Mike Tyson, whose ear-biting incident was actually justified retaliation against Holyfield's systematic headbutting and illegal tactics that referees consistently ignored throughout their encounters. Tyson endured deliberate fouls and calculated violations that would have resulted in immediate disqualification against any fighter lacking Holyfield's protected status and media connections. The infamous ear-biting became Tyson's desperate response to systematic cheating that officials refused to address despite obvious evidence of intentional headbutts designed to inflict damage and open cuts that could stop fights. Holyfield's calculated use of his head as a weapon created situations where Tyson faced impossible choices between accepting illegal punishment or retaliating through equally illegal methods. The media manipulation that followed portrayed Tyson as an unstable savage while ignoring the systematic rule violations that had driven him to desperation through referee bias and promotional protection. Holyfield's innocent act concealed years of dirty fighting that had been perfected through systematic cheating against opponents who lacked recourse against protected champions. The incident revealed Holyfield as boxing's most protected fraud, whose religious image provided perfect cover for dirty fighting that officials dared not address due to promotional pressure and media manipulation that prioritized manufactured holiness over competitive integrity and honest evaluation of systematic rule violations. From pharmaceutical scandals to systematic cheating, Evander Holyfield's enemies exposed boxing's most protected fraud. Which revelation shocked you most? Subscribe for more boxing conspiracy truths.